Attention. Welcome to the Different Spectrums podcast. We dive into the wild world of mental health discussions. Get ready for profound talks, a sprinkle of humor and sarcasm, and a touch of colorful language. Just a quick heads up, our show reflects our individual opinions, which may not align with the standpoint of the podcast, our featured guests, or any related corporate entities. Our mission? To illuminate through laughter and satire because everyone needs a good chuckle. Chill out and don't stress over the small stuff. Legal troubles? No, thank you. Cancel culture? Please spare us. We'd rather keep this space lawsuit free. So buckle up, have a good time, and join us as we navigate the vibrant realm of mental health on the Different Spectrums podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. By using our link, you can get 10% off your first month of therapy. So, Naz, as a therapist on BetterHelp, what has your experience been like?
I've been doing it since January of 2021, and it's been really fun and exciting. I've been able to reach clients all over the United States and the world. I've had good relationships. I've had folks that I've had for a couple months and a good handful where I've had for almost 2 years now. So it's magnificent. I've enjoyed my time and my clients. I love them.
Awesome. You can do it all from your phone or computer via phone call, video chat, or messaging, however you feel the most comfortable. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/DSP or choose Different Spectrums podcast during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. Hey, everybody, we back again.
Hey, we're back. We're live.
Hey. I'm Spencer, and of course, that's our licensed clinical therapist, Fat Albert. Hey.
Christ. Yeah, Dr. Nas, I'm going to do my best to keep my shit in check today. But I feel like we're just going to ejaculate all over this thing. So,
God damn it. Already starting. Remember, don't take us too seriously.
Or do. It's completely up to you.
There you go. Also, don't forget to wrap those likes for us. We'd really appreciate it. So, before we get into our guest for the show, is a licensed clinical social worker who works with those who have ADHD and is also a certified sex therapist. Please welcome to the show, Leann Borneman.
Happy to be here.
Okay. We're going to talk.
Claps, huh? Okay.
Clap. Oh, sorry.
No, I was talking to him, not you.
Let me make it clap.
Giving you some extra.
Clap, woman. Clap. No.
Clap now.
Anyway, so today we're going to be doing the show Big Mouth, right? And some things that we're going to be talking about is going to be sex education, boys versus girls. We're also going to be talking about parents that talk about sex and, heterosexuality. There it is. Also, we're going to be talking about how women learn about their bodies or don't.
Yeah.
And then also about self-pleasure, porn, and vibrators. So we're just going the whole gamut on this pod.
We're going to get right in there.
Get the
One
lube.
hole at a time.
Get the lube? Would you be the lube in this situation for the podcast?
You're the official lube of the Different Spectrums.
You're the lube. Welcome, white woman, the official lube for America.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Before I pass it off to Naz, just want to say rest in peace to Rachel Lillis, who is the voice of Misty and Jessie from the Pokemon series, who actually just died today with her battle with cancer at 46. So I know that she was a big part of my life watching Pokemon, things like that. Just wanted to give that shout out to her and her family as well.
I did just see that. Yep.
Yeah.
Rest in power. We'll play one of the things after this. Thank you, Spence, for bringing that to my attention.
Yes. Also, rest in peace to Charles Bradley, who did the theme song for this show. Before he died and before he even got famous, he was actually a James Brown impersonator. That's why he kind of sounds like that.
It's so good.
He was an amazing artist, and unfortunately, he got his big break. That's a great thing, but a little later in his life. So, glad that people are now kind of realizing how talented he was.
So good.
Yeah.
As we get into the scenes, right, we're gonna have some fun today. So this is the official trigger warning, not because it's like, graphic and PTSD. Well, it could be PTSD, like for some folks. But this is more mature. This is going to be one of the more rated R type things. And it really shouldn't be, because it's just sexual education, intimacy, our bodies, which shouldn't technically be taboo. But this is a warning for some folks that are very visual. They have a little bit more hyperphantasia and maybe a little bit more of a PG rated mind. This is your warning. This is not going to be a PG rated podcast. Me and Spencer are going to be some goofballs. So there's going to be some comments made. So if this is not your type of thing, sexuality, or just some of the visual imageries or scenes that we're going to look at, skip to this podcast. You can go back and look at the Flubber one that just came out, and many other fantastic, like easy ones, right? Those are easy ones. Those are gimmies.
Just go look at the Flubber.
Go look at the Flubber one. Well, that sounds different. That'd be a hell of a vibrator.
God damn it.
When women and men lining up right now for that one.
I want that Flubber.
Clean me out. All right. But it's going to be fun. So we're going to talk about a lot of sexual health, reproductive issues, comparisons. We're going to get into a lot of anxieties, self-hatred, just also experimentation with your own body and self-discovery, and how that can lead into intimacy issues if you don't do it later in life. So we're going to talk about pros and cons of that. And our guest therapist is going to pretty much lead the way for all this. So excited?
I'm super excited.
Cover your ears, cover your eyes. Some of you that, PG minds, I know some of you got it. It's okay. Yeah, let's have some fun. Let's talk about, well, how's it going on Instagram? Segs? Y'all call it segs that we don't get blocked?
Actually, they just changed it. Now that's being censored. So now we have to do the star in the word sex.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're catching on.
They're catching on. Yep. How dare you women try to liberate other women?
I know.
Yeah, you're all whores.
Be talking about this.
You're all whores, just like Kamala Harris. That's you're a DEI hire that had sex to the top. And I'm gonna be honest. This is real honesty. If you could have sex and you're so good at it that you became the fucking president of the United States, you must have the best sex in history of all. You created sex, Kamala. Thank you. You have the magical coochie. Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
It's not the Karma Sutra, it's the Kamala Sutra.
There you
the
go.
Kamala Sutra, written by President Kamala Harris.
Oh God.
Let's get to the podcast. I'm sorry. Whoop whoop.
Woof woof.
Whoop whoop.
Hey, there it is. This is gonna be interesting. Okay, let's go, folks.
Hormones are released and the sexual organs begin to change. The uterus is the center of female reproductive activity.
The uterus? I thought girls had vaginas.
I thought that too, but I guess they don't.
Maybe vagina is like slang?
Did someone say vagina?
Oh, no, not now.
Fuck yeah, no!
Go away. You are not real. You're just some hormone monster my brain created.
If I'm not real, then how come I'm sending blood to your sweet penis right now?
Oh, come
The
on.
ovaries release the egg, then travel down the fallopian tube.
Fallopian. What a savory word. Describes exactly what it is, you know what I mean?
Okay, I should tell you, this is school, and we need boundaries.
If you want me to go away, you know what you have to do.
Jerk off.
Jerk off, yeah, exactly. Let's go to the bathroom and climax into that thin toilet paper.
How come in all these videos, puberty for boys is like the miracle of ejaculation, and for girls, we're just a yarn ball of aching tubes?
Ew, that's gross.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we need equal pay.
My dad says when you take into account maternity leave, you do get equal pay.
Your dad's a scumbag DUI attorney.
Yeah, and he makes bank.
Too bad he can't afford tweezers for that unibrow.
Shut up, Matthew! Come on. Wheels up in 30 seconds.
Miss Kazan, can I please go to the bathroom, please?
If you don't get out of here right now, we're gonna Jackson Pollock all over your pants.
Who?
He's a famous abstract expressionist.
Oh my God.
I'll take notes for you, Andrew.
Thanks, Missy.
Let's go.
I'm coming.
Not yet. That's why we gotta get to the bathroom, sweetheart.
What's going on? I thought Andrew was staying over all weekend.
It's nothing.
Nick?
Nicholas, we're your parents. You can tell us anything.
Okay. Last night, when he was changing, I saw Andrew's penis.
And now you're worried you're homosexual? Nikki, a man can touch another penis or even kiss one very lightly, and it still doesn't necessarily mean he's a homosexual. You know, when I was an undergraduate, your mother knows the story.
Dad, I'm not worried I'm gay.
Honey, it's fine if you are.
It's better.
And by the way, you could do a lot worse than Andrew Glauberman.
It's not that. It's Andrew's was different, like bigger and hairier.
Sweetheart, Andrew started to become a man.
That's right.
He's developed secondary sex characteristics.
He has.
Thicker eyebrows, engorged nipples.
Engorged nipples?
Mom!
His penis is changing from a boy penis to a man's penis.
Mom!
And you may, like me, never have a very big penis. But if you understand a woman's body, and more importantly, her emotions, it doesn't matter.
It's true, Nikki. Before I met your father, I was with some men who were very well endowed, and honestly, it was too much for me.
Okay.
Your father's penis is my glass slipper.
And you're my Cinderella.
Guys, please stop.
Give me a break. I'm sure Andrew and his parents have had very similar conversations.
I don't know.
What do you want?
I don't know. I know I like this, and I thought I was gonna like this.
You did like that.
Yeah, but everyone's reaction to it made me feel so weird.
Who cares about everyone else? Maybe it's time to get to know yourself.
Oh, you mean take a look at it?
Yeah, take a gander. It's yours, isn't it?
Okay, sure. Can I get some privacy?
Of course, Pecorino. If you need me, I'll be in the bubble bath watching Dr. Drew Pinsky. He looks like a sexy turtle.
Here goes something. Hello?
Hey, girl, hey! Oh my God, I have been dying to meet you.
Oh, cool. Okay. Hi, I'm Jessie.
Well, I'm your genitals. What's up?
Well,
I was wondering when you'd...
No, you go first.
Wait,
Oh,
we
jinx!
talked at the same time.
Oh, we're having fun.
This is fun.
I have to say, you are not what I was expecting.
Do you want the grand tour?
Yes, please.
Great. Okay. Up top, this is the clitoris. It is where the party happens.
What do you mean by party?
Oh, gosh. Have you ever been electrocuted, but in a good way?
No.
Okay. It's a very important spot.
Oh.
This is the urethra. That's where the pee comes out.
Oh, I didn't know there was a second hole.
Well, there's 3 if you count Uranus.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, me neither. She's an asshole. That's a joke.
Oh, okay.
No, she's a lovely lady. And a drummer. What else? Labia majora.
Wow.
The labia minora.
Oh, hi.
Oh, and this part here is the actual vagina.
Oh, weird. Sorry. I assumed the vagina was like the whole thing.
A lot of people do that. It's like how people call all sparkling wines champagne. But technically, champagne is from one specific region in France. It's like, shut up, nerd. We're just trying to get drunk.
You know, you're not scary.
Boo! Of course I'm not scary. I'm you. And I'm very fun. Wink, wink. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I guess I think I know what you mean.
Oh, you know what I mean.
I mean, obviously, I have some sense of what you mean.
I'm telling you to masturbate.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go now.
No, what? Stay forever.
I wish I could.
Oh, don't be a stranger.
What is this place? Oh, squeezy vines.
I've been slithering around in tight jeans all day.
You have?
And now I'm hungry.
For me?
No, nachos.
I'm not nachos.
Whoa! Hi, hello.
Oh, hi.
What were you dreaming about?
Oh, there was this snake in jeans, and he kind of had a good body.
I'm awake and ready to play.
Play what?
Jesse Glazer, come on down.
What the?
You're the next contestant on Do the Thing, everyone's favorite game show where you rub me until something awesome happens.
Ooh, you playing Do the Thing. Go, Jesse! That's my baby!
Okay.
The yodeler? I love this one.
Wait, how do I even play this?
Well, the better you make me feel, the quicker Heidi climbs the Alps. So...
Let's touch our genitals! Yeah!
Okay. So, all right. Well, what if I start like this, maybe?
Okay, that's a little pokey. Not trying to squish a bug.
Sorry.
Maybe try like a little circle.
Okay. So like.
Oh, she's climbing. Rub faster.
Nope. Too many fingers.
Okay. Should I do like a flat open palm?
Yeah. No, it's not a steering wheel.
I'm sorry.
You're not a cool mom trying to get out of her parking spot.
Hey. Okay. How about like this?
Oh, that's not bad.
Is it gonna yodel the whole time?
Don't give up, baby. You gotta get that singing vagina out of Nazi territory.
That's too much pressure. You know what? Ugh, let's not do this.
Oh, Jesse, you were doing it for a second. I mean, not well, but...
Okay, I'm sorry, but it just feels like nothing is good enough for you.
Ladies, we are getting off track
Yeah,
here.
but she's so sensitive.
Would you prefer a numb vagina?
No.
Because I can make that happen.
Just forget it. I have to pee.
Fine. Can you please remember to wipe front to back this time?
Oh my God, I know how to wipe. Bye.
I don't think you do.
Oh, God, Tina!
Jesus, is that what's supposed to happen?
Yeah, sounds like your mama just won an orgasm.
Ugh.
And a brand new jet ski!
It's like a motorcycle for the water.
Jesse.
What?
Let's play Do the Thing again.
Ugh, I don't know if I want to play. I'm not great at that game. I don't even know how to win.
Win? You mean have an orgasm?
Ugh, don't say that word.
Would you rather I said climax?
No.
Full release?
No thanks.
Pussy scream.
Nope. Okay, let's stick with orgasm. And while we're speaking plainly, so when I put my hand to my vagina, it feels medical.
Well, geez Louise, when you talk about it like that, takes all the bubbles out my soda pop.
Sorry.
Besides, there's more than one way to do it.
Oh.
Jujule it.
All right. I think it's Google. Oh, here we go.
It's Juju.
Okay. How to have an orgasm. All right. Okay, well, here's an article on Good Housekeeping.
Ew, that sounds like work. Look over there. Bethany's first orgasm.
Right, but that looks porny.
And that's why we are interested?
I guess we are, huh? All right. Oh my God.
This is my first orgasm!
It's nice that they got a balloon.
Why don't you put down that vibrator?
Whoa.
This is my first orgasm again!
Okay. I know we're supposed to believe women, but if I'm being honest, I don't think that was Bethany's first orgasm.
And it seemed fake, right?
Yeah.
But you know what didn't seem fake? That big old dick.
Is that thing supposed to go inside you?
Listen, I do not know. To me, it looked like an anaconda that ate a calzone, and inside the calzone was a huge fucking...
Maybe I'm just gonna be one of those women who can't have orgasms. It's more common than you think.
Come on, you've only tried one method. Remember that porno girl with the dope-ass vibrator?
I guess that part was compelling.
You know, vibrator's been helping women for over 100 years.
Really?
Jujule!
Okay! Some scholars trace the invention of the vibrator to 19th century Dr. Joseph Granville.
Whoa, I was hoping we'd do this.
Mrs. Thompson here suffers from female hysteria.
What is this?
Lately, she has become willful and disobedient. She keeps saying, "Oh, I want the right to vote. I want to work outside the home." She's very ill.
How is this related to vibrators?
Shh, wait for it. It's coming.
Now, in order to cure her, we must induce hysterical paroxysm using this incredible new device.
What the? So, hysterical paroxysm is...
This is my first orgasm!
Okay, now her, I believe.
Behold, vibration for women's health.
I want to be healthy.
I am a lover of health and of healthy things, too.
Well, from a sociological perspective, this is fucked up, but she seems happy, I guess?
Yeah, and now they make vibrators that are waterproof. You can bring it to your public pool.
Nah.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our show today. We just wanted to take some time to give a special shout out to our collaborator, Cat and Raven Design. They are a small queer-owned business that specializes in LGBTQ plus pride soaps. They have great designs, some that even look good to eat, but don't. You can get 10% off your entire order if you use the code DSP or go to our Linktree. Help support this great small business and help give back to a great community. And we're back again.
We're back and we're live. Just as live as Kamala Harris gumbo pot.
Gumbo.
She got this. She got.
Where's she from? She's like from Louisiana.
She got one of them Krusty the Krab gumbo pots, boy. That must be some of the best gumbo pot because she's about to be the next motherfucking president of the United States. So fuck you.
Yeah. Black
I
woman.
I love the word gumbo pot.
I know you do.
Shout out to New Girl for teaching me that word.
You also love being a steamboat captain that you met once.
Yep. One time. Met him one time. One time in Louisiana.
God damn, that's stuck with you ever since.
That
You're
was
like,
it.
I want to be that man right there.
This is a fast steamboat. No. Ain't never
Yeah,
been no steamboat like this steamboat now.
Yeah. Imagine that at Disney World, like on a steamboat. It was the worst time. Like we were just slowly going through the water and he just, look over there. That's a tree over there. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? What is happening?
Full autism. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All
This is the Natchez. Shout out to the Natchez. New Orleans. Shout out to the Natchez. Still kicking. Yep.
There you go. Shout out to him. He's probably not on the
No,
internet.
the boat's
That's
called
okay.
the Natchez, you jackass.
Oh, is that what it's called? I thought that was his nickname.
No.
The Natchez.
No,
Like, okay.
the Natchez.
Shout out to. Why are you shouting out a boat, you idiot?
Let's get to the show.
God. So before we get into Big Mouth, we have our guest, Leann. Welcome once again. Well,
Thank you.
so how did you get into this little thing we call mental health?
So, crazy story, actually. I got pregnant when I wasn't supposed to, and I was a cervical cancer survivor, and I was told I could never get pregnant. So, single parent, I decided to have a baby, and I realized, all right, I got to get my shit together. And I was in a buffet with a good friend at the time, and he said I would either be a really good attorney or I'd be a good therapist. And I'm like, well, I don't want to cover for assholes, so I'm going to go the therapy route. And here I am. And through the journey, I started discovering reproductive and sexual health, and it really staying true to me. And I became a certified rape crisis counselor.
Okay.
And I started to recognize and realize working with survivors that this is an area that's not talked about. And it's needed to be talked about for our empowerment and how we view ourselves and the relationships that we have. And the rest was history. I just kept going.
Wow.
Yep.
Did you ever feel like, especially in the area of like just sex in general, was that always something that kind of came across to you a little bit easier than other people, or did you kind of just roll into it as you were just getting into therapy?
I think the topic itself was always very interesting to me, but I definitely still had an awkward relationship with it. I'll never forget, I was in the middle of Starbucks, and you know how they have those long tables where everyone can work together. I was in an undergrad class, and it was reproductive health. And I'm sitting there, my headphones on, I'm looking at the female anatomy, and I literally just said out loud, that's what that is. At 24 years of age, I just learned something new about my body and my anatomy. And I was like, all right, no, this needs to not be an experience for all of us. And I recognized I wasn't alone. And through that and just becoming more educated and putting myself out there, I got a lot more comfortable with it. But I definitely had an awkward relationship with it, even though I knew I was interested in it.
There you go. So what did you find out? Was it like, oh, these are nipples. This is what they're for. I'm joking. What was it that you found out? Do you remember?
It was about the clitoris.
Okay.
No one ever told me about the clitoris up until that point. My pleasure in terms of my interactions with people was never the center.
Stimulation.
No. Yeah, none whatsoever. And it was in that moment when I was reading about it and the nerve endings at the time and all the information that the book actually provided. I was like, interesting. And that was the day that I actually became a sex toy consultant.
Oh, sweet. Oh.
Yeah.
She had a great homework assignment after she read that page. She's like, hold up now.
Let me highlight this area.
I'm about to name you. Let me stop. Continue,
Yeah.
Spencer.
Okay. So, when did you find out that you had autism and ADHD?
Oh,
So
wait.
I actually only have ADHD. And I
was teasing
found
about
out
the
later
autism.
in the game.
I was teasing about the autism. Sorry, that's on me, Spence. Just ADHD.
Well,
Yep.
the tism.
I was actually later diagnosed when my daughter was diagnosed through her school. And I was about 28, 29, around 30, give or take. I'm 36 now. And when I got the diagnosis, well, when she got the diagnosis, and I was sitting there listening to the evaluation and everything, I was, oh, well, that sounds like me. And so I was talking to the neuropsych, and he said, generally, if, it's genetic more so than environmental. And so there's a good chance, yeah, you have ADHD. I went my path. I got my neuropsych evaluation. And lo and behold, here we are. Yeah, and everything clicked for me. It made total sense, but at the same time, still no sense because I was still under the pressure and the lens of this neurotypical lifestyle, especially within the sexuality realm.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, how many do you ever see people who are especially on the spectrum and they just have this hard time connecting, like a hard time connecting, not only just in a relationship, but sexually? Is that a very tough thing that you kind of see and work with your clients? Or is that kind of something you're not really,
So 100%. I have a lot of clients that both have ADHD and autism, but generally most of my clients are strictly ADHD.
Okay.
But we do see in research that there is a gap between individuals with autism and experiences sexually. My dissertation is actually looking into ADHD and BDSM.
Okay.
Because the research right now that's out there suggests that there are actually more individuals with autism engaging in BDSM than the general population. And when you unpack it, it makes total sense. You've got sensory exploration, communication, you're not dealing with social cues. It's very explicit communication. You don't have to worry about all these other things that for individuals with autism and ADHD don't necessarily have. You can actually engage and enjoy and not feel that restriction.
I second that. Without even knowing the data, definitely within the population, you can see more divergence, and then just missionary sex, right? It's a lot of divergence to a lot of different things, right? A lot of some things to me that's a no-go because there's certain things that are involved. I'm like, nope. But my clients definitely higher rate in that population. I agree. Yep.
So when we're looking at the show, Big Mouth, do you see this as like a helpful show for those who have like just sexual education like problems or don't know as much as they should? Do you kind of see this as a good show for them, or do you kind of see it as it being like a too over the top?
I actually love it. And the reason I love it is because when I started watching it, I went in with the lens of knowing or feeling that they would mess up somewhere, but they didn't. There's a couple of scenes where they don't refer to the female anatomy correctly, but they have done in the past. They really touch on topics that are taboo in society, that are connected to the comparisons that we have, that leads to shame and insecurity. And for me, it also is just funny. I mean, who doesn't like humor? But for people who don't have the education, I think this is a fun show that provides it with the jokes on the side, but still bringing home the important messages around our sexuality and our anatomy.
Spencer, do you know what is rated? I assume this is rated mature, right? Big Mouth or no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't even have to look that up.
Yeah, you just know it's rated mature, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say
I have a sneaky suspicion, though, however, I will say, I have a sneaky suspicion that the directors knew exactly who would be watching it, and that it was definitely not going to stay within the mature audience. And to me, quite honestly, I think that's a good thing, only because all the facts that are produced in this show about sexuality, these kids are watching porn. It happens. So this, to me, is so much better than porn because you're actually learning realistic interactions with our anatomy and our sexuality.
Correct. Like the dad of the little guy, what Nick Nolte's character, right? That dad, right? And that mom, they talk about sex and intimacy relationships. They talk about everything all the time as like they're professors in like this thing. And it's intense, but like they're fantastic, like parents. I could see where a lot of people don't agree with this stuff, but they're very affirming, very validating, very supportive on educating on what's going on and why. I enjoy their characters as parents, even though if they were your parents, it'd be cringe as hell. Like, shut up. But I think that's a good spin on it, Spence's. I don't think I've ever seen anything this cringy, but also this educational, like at the same time. But it is like hella cringy.
Yeah, Euphoria kind of tried to do it a little bit, but at the same time, it just they're going for more of something that's a little bit more explicit, and they're going more drama while they're going comedy, but then also education as well.
Correct.
So, yeah. Kind of on that, is there any other shows that you would kind of recommend for those that are kind of having these problems at all?
I actually love Sex Ed. It's a BBC British creation. Absolutely amazing. Love it, love it, love it. Outside of that, the only other thing I can think of is more documentary, not necessarily shows, but it's The Principle of Pleasure. They're amazing. They have a couple of series within that, and it's all about anatomy and proper education. They have all the experts that come in and talk about it. And it's still jokey and humorous with the certain individuals that are being interviewed. So it's light, but still educational.
Do you know if it's on anything? Principles of Pleasure?
Netflix.
Oh, it's Netflix. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Netflix for bringing some of these spicier shows.
A little spicy.
Yeah. And by spice, we mean sex. But not like in a Euphoria type of way, and like, not just like legit. This is educational sex.
I'm learning something here.
This dick will teach you.
Fucking heck. That didn't feel good. I know that didn't feel good. I'm not gonna. Oh, too many double entendres. Let's get into the next question here. So when we talk about just education and sex, what are your beliefs on just sex education in general? Is this something that you should be teaching, and like what things should we be teaching in there to kind of help people kind of grow in their lifestyle so that they're not kind of repressing things?
So the beautiful thing here is that I get to say I don't have an opinion because it's a very objective field, believe it or not. And the science shows it that when we learn things from a young age, it's very beneficial. And, a lot of people have the age appropriate narrative where it's like, oh, it's not age appropriate. Well, science actually doesn't back that. Science, there is no number that's associated with this concept of age appropriateness. In actuality, we can deliver any and all bits of information to anybody at any age. It's about the context and how we're delivering it in terms of the child's developmental age. And so a lot of policies, a lot of schools and all of that, they go towards the taboo, the fears, this should be taught in the home. But when we look at the crutch of like science and objectivity around it, we know that it holds more benefits than negatives for sure when it's provided in a correct way.
Yeah. I mean, the way they talk about it in schools, or the way your parents most handle it is, if you fucking, you're going to get AIDS. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, there's no
what?
Yeah, if you fucking, then you're going to get pregnant. And then, okay.
Yeah.
If you fucking, you're gay. Gee, why am I gay?
Well, you're speaking on the fear that's taught. I'm also a college professor, and a lot of my students in my human sexuality course say it all the time, that anything and everything around sex ed was all about fear. Like, you're going to get an STI, you're going to, get addicted to sex, you're going to break your clitoris, or you're going to break your penis. There's so many things for masturbation.
Well, no, unless you like the character in the show where he's fucking a couch. So, I mean, there's multiple ways to break it if you try it. I've tried a few.
You break a few things.
I've tried it,
Furniture.
Waffle iron.
Oh my God. Why is it shaped like that?
It's the shape of Texas. Sorry. But you're right. It's sorry to cut you off, but the fear, but that's where I was going with my jokes, is the fear base that not only will this contract some type of disease, not only will you as a woman most likely be shamed into being a whore, promiscuous, not only will you be shamed as being a sin. So if you're religious in a religious school, then it's a sin. You're going to hell, right? It's before marriage. Just a lot of guilt and shame, a lot of hatred, which leads to me a lot of repressive things. And for men, it leads into, I think, a lot of bad behaviors. shame as well, but some weird and awkward behaviors because now you can't talk to anyone. And I want to get your opinion in a minute about something. I want to wait until Spence is done.
No, we can get into it now. I mean,
okay.
That's fine.
So there's this thing what I see where, in one of the scenes he's talking about, well, I seen homeboys wean. And the dad's like, and you think you're gay now? I was like, what? So a pivot off of that is we'll have clients that have maybe an intrusive thought, not even intrusive thought. They'll be like, oh, that's an attractive dude. Or, oh, they'll see someone else's genitals and they'll have this OCD around being gay. And this queer OCD is intense for a lot of folks. And we're not talking about exploring. We're talking about like legit, like I must be this because I thought about this thing one time. Have you noticed that or like helped or worked on that? Because I've had a few cases where folks has had that. I don't even know what it's called. And it's not even a fear. They're just freaking out that they're gay. They're like, I don't hate that I am, but like, holy, I seen that one penis one time. I was like, that's one magical penis you've seen because it turned you gay that quick.
Well, you're also talking about the narratives and the scripts a lot of men get growing up, and especially heterosexual men, and what it means to be a man, what it means to show up correctly in the bedroom and all of that. And I do see that in general, a lot of my clients that come to me who are heterosexual, the man is struggling with that script piece. If they're struggling with erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation, you're going against the grain of what you're supposed to be as a man. And that feeds into a lot of the anxiety. So what you're talking about is very similar, especially if we lived in a world that didn't make it wrong to be gay or that there was full support to be gay, you wouldn't have the fear. Like it wouldn't be a thing. So it goes back to those narratives and the scripts and, what it means to be a man, a straight man.
Makes sense. You got any other questions for?
No, we can get into the scene.
Okay. Well, real quick, how long have you been doing the sex therapy stuff for? How long has that been going?
So I've been doing that for a total of 4 years, but I've only been certified for the last year, and I'm about to be in the next year, hopefully, if all goes well, my PhD as a clinical sexologist.
Okay. Nice. There you go. And when do you tentative graduation date?
Hopefully October of 2025, if all goes well.
So next year. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go. Nice. Any publications come out yet or not yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay, so that'll be when the big, I'm trying to think of a perverted way to say this. That's when the big O comes out is 2025.
Spencer's face.
Fucking pervert. All right.
I'm sorry.
That's goddamn perfect. He's not denying it. He's just saying sorry. All right. Anyways. All right. So Big Mouth, if you haven't seen it, is about all these little ones going through the changes, right? Going through changes in their bodies, right? And so they have these different experiences and kind of what they're going through. And they have these hormone monsters that kind of pester them to either kind of pushing them towards that more sexual side instead of like repressing it as much, right? And so in the first scene that we watched, it's all about sex education and how it's different from men and women, right? Or boys and girls. And so just kind of want to talk about like, what was your experience growing up? Like, what was your experience kind of with sex education? Was it more like this where it was just kind of, straight, especially with women, it's more of that straight to the point, all about your reproductive organs? Or is it about, was it different?
She's cracking up over there, so I'm sure it was.
I'm laughing so hard.
It was tantalizing, I'm sure.
My sex ed, I will never forget it, was cartoon sperm in top hats and canes dancing on a stage. That is what I remember from my sex ed class. I don't know if that was the same for all people my age. I'm 36, but we still do definitely 100% see a discrepancy in how it's presented for males versus females. I mean, my daughter's 12 and she had the quote talk in school, and they separate them between males and females. So they talk about their anatomy separately. And we actually know that goes against the grain of science, because what you're doing is not giving a space for building empathy. on each other. If you don't know about the other person's body, you're never going to be able to show empathy.
Yeah.
But to go back to your question, you know, the difference is definitely there, you know, for males. And I hear it from my college students all the time. And like the women in the class feel like it's bullshit. Like, they get to talk about pleasure, hard penis, and you might feel something. And I'm talking about all the pain from my periods and my ovaries and pregnancy and all of this. And no one even brings up my clitoris. And, you know, this the difference is crazy. So, yeah, it's sad.
Yeah. I mean, I've never thought about it like this at all. I mean, I haven't thought about like legit sex education. Even watching the show, I'm not like, you know what? They should reform this shit. You know, I'm just like, I was just contemplating me as a young boy, and like the voice changes, the hair, the acne, right? And I was always very flirtatious around kids, even way before. I'm like always, hey, teasing people, punching them in the head, and like, we dating now? We dating? I was very mean.
That means he likes you.
Oh, 100%. I still do the same thing to this day. I'm like,
he gave me a concussion. He must like me.
Yeah. Girl, I'll drop you on your head, girl.
My eye doesn't work anymore, but you know.
Yeah. I'm just a piece of shit. I don't know how to flirt without being an asshole. Why you got a hunchback, girl? So do I, though. You can pet him. I named him Lamar. So I'm thinking of this in my own experiences and never really thought about women's watching this. But it was fun watching the scenes and seeing like these different things, right? And the characters, very strong women in these characters, right? And they grow over time and they become even more strong and more independent. You see a lot of breakdowns with family members in these characters, and you see the growth within the family and the dynamics around this age and puberty. And you were talking about pleasure when it comes to boys. I don't really remember much about, I think I just remember talking more about kind of like the science and like how babies are born. It was just science. I don't think I remember the pleasure. I remember, might have. I feel like all we learned about was science. I think I do remember making jokes when we talked about the banana thing, though. That was a thing, the banana and the condom. So that's kind of.
I never got that growing up. I always looked forward to it because you saw it on all the shows and movies, and I never got the banana and the condom.
Yeah.
I felt like my education was completely
lacking.
robbed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you went to a Catholic school. It is what it is.
Crazy.
No, that's not public, right? Yeah, no, public.
Public school.
They're just like, go for it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
You'll figure it out, honey. And she was pregnant a couple months later. So.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Well, no, going back to the sex ed in general, we don't have rules and regulations to do it. I mean, there's only, I think, I don't quote me on the numbers, I'm not remembering them correctly, but very small amount, like below 10, that is mandated to provide medically science information. And then everyone else can run the gamut. Like they can talk about anything and everything that they want. My daughter's school only talked about HIV, and
that's why I brought that
all
up.
Just all like the puberty related things, the voice changing for the males, the changes in breast size, pubic hair, etc. All like the anatomy piece, but again, didn't really talk much about all of the female anatomy.
So obviously the school's complicated. How do you prepare teachers to do this, whatever curriculum, because nothing's ever going to pass because everyone sucks these days. Nothing ever gets passed or changed. So I'm going to pivot this conversation real quick. What would you recommend for parents to like navigate this? There's a lot of parents that listen to us. How would you recommend them talking to your children, doesn't matter what gender, about these kind of topics? And does it matter what age? You said no to science, but I'm wondering when does it, during maybe puberty, they should start talking to kids about this stuff?
So it's really hard because I think it's important for parents just to always create a safe space for you to be able to talk about anything when it comes to your anatomy and your experience. But I also always like to say err on the side of caution to not try and, stay in your lane. Don't talk about things that you don't have the full background on. There's amazing resources. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there's like 2 books in particular that are written in a comic-like way for parents to give to their children at different stages of their development to talk about their anatomy. And then as they get older, they talk more about intimacy and sex and just relationships and a variety of different topics. And it's in a very, direct way that's good for their development, where they're at in their experiences. There's so many videos now out there to support parents to sit down and just, talk with their kids. And they're great because you as a parent can listen to them beforehand. You can decide what you want to talk about, because I do still believe values and belief systems are huge. It's important for us to still maintain those, but proper education and giving a space for a child as they grow to know what their body is and isn't is also really important as well.
I'm going to ask you a question, then I'm going to kick it back to Spence. This is very serious, so this is a trigger warning for some folks when it comes to assault. So I'm going to wait a second for a couple of people to drop off. Just come back in a couple of minutes, folks. So, right, when we're training in our clinical program, we're talking about naming the body parts as parents and making sure you're being actually literal about the body parts, because there were some cases in the state of Michigan where kids were saying these nicknames to these caseworkers or teachers, like, oh, so-and-so's plays with, turkey or nana or whatever, right? They were saying these funny names, and the teachers were like, oh, okay, this person was playing with this. And it turns out that was a nickname that they have in the family for genitals. And these kids were actually being assaulted by someone, whether it be within the family, outside of the family. And so a lot of our training was making sure you tell these kids the actual names of their anatomy. That way, if they are saying something and they're reporting it to teachers, because kids will talk about anything at a younger age, that it's accurate and correct. And so I just want to say that for some of the parents that, hey, this could be a thing that you implement. This is the way I was trained, is let's not create these funny duddy nicknames because we're scared to say vagina or penis or whatever it is, right? Because like, ha ha ha, or it's taboo, because this could actually save like someone's life. Have you heard of people or this kind of like phenomenon happening?
So yes and no. I don't work with children. I do work with only 18 and plus, but I do work with a variety of people who have sexual assault history from childhood that is affecting their sexuality as adults today. And one of the common themes is if they just had the education, they could have had the strength and the platform to advocate in a way that they never were able to growing up. So what you're talking about is the educational piece that can be very supportive and powerful to a child if they are ever experiencing that, unfortunately, to know, okay, wait a minute, right? Something's not okay here. And having the language to actually approach somebody and have a conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you spoke on that. I know it's an issue that was kind of drilled into us, and then I'm always making sure that we're calling things by the right stuff. Calling things by the right stuff. Thank you for that.
Of course.
All right, let's go to the next scene. So in this scene, Nick is in the car with his parents, and all of a sudden they're talking about penises. All the penises.
My favorite topic.
And Nick's parents are very open about talking about sex with him. I know growing up, my mom not very open about it. It was just like, let's keep that away. Just don't get anybody pregnant. Good. And so like, and then of course my girlfriend, she's a lot more open with her mom and talking about sex and all that stuff. And every time they're having that conversation with each other, I'm just like, this is so fucking awkward for me, because I would never, ever have this conversation with my mom. She's old school. She's an old school type lady, very, introspect. Like she is very open-minded and things like that. She was talking about how somebody she knew had AIDS at time in like the 70s or something like that, and went in to hug her, and the person was just like very like, whoa, what the hell are you doing? Because nobody else would come near me and stuff like that. So she's a very open person, very just genuine person when it comes to that stuff. But when it comes to her kids, she's just like, no. And so did you have that kind of experience with your parents, or were they kind of a little bit more open in terms of just like talking about sex and all that?
I think the most conversations I had with my parents about sex was my father reminding me that the men only wanted one thing, and it was to get between my legs. That was the only message I got. No one in my family talked about sex or anything. I remember, side note, just about sexuality. When I got my period, my mom took me out to Old Navy and got me a nice little bag because she didn't know what else to get me, but she was like excited. I had no idea what was going on. And it's funny, that this episode, this clip in particular, the parents are very educated and you see how he's freaking out. I see my daughter in that clip so much because my daughter's 12 and I will try to provide the other. She's like, Mom, God, can you stop talking? Like, okay, I get it. Like she just doesn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Like it's no. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So,
No. That's your 10 feet. Holy goddamn.
So yeah, for me though, I got no sex ed conversation in the home. Absolutely not.
I feel like you with your kids are going to be like, this is a penis.
Look at it. No, look at it.
This is your labia majora. Well, no, I feel like you're going to go through the anatomy.
You make jokes right now, but I'm smirking because my 3-year-old knows what an egg is, knows what a fallopian tube, and knew what was going on internally. And when I was pregnant with my baby, he would go and say, "She's in mommy's uterus."
There you go.
3 years old. I got it.
Well,
got him.
Look at you liberals and your groomers. You're just grooming your kids. That's what you are. You fucking groomer.
Jesus Christ.
Pedophiles. So I make that joke, right? That's a horrific joke that I just made. But I know that some people will listen to sex educators, therapists like this, people that are trying to like legit teach their kids the correct things, terminologies, words, experiences. And I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, this is gross. This is profanity. This is pornography. This is inappropriate. This is not a Christian household. There's going to be some pushback on any time you make a post about things like this. I'm sure you've already seen that in your comments or DMs. I'm sure you have. Can you share with us any of the negative, weird comments that folks have like lit you up about?
I think the only one I've ever had, which I'm very grateful for, because again, I really serve more of an 18 plus platform, but it was when I was talking about the concept of masturbation in childhood, specifically around, when you catch your child exploring their bodies and the appropriate approach to start the sex positive relationship rather than the shame relationship. I got so many messages because I was disgusting. I was a pedophile. How could I even put the word masturbation and child in the same sentence, etc. And, I get it. I do. I understand completely where that comes from, and I sit back and I get it. And I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I do know that there are tons of people out there that are willing to listen and hear and then see what they're ready and willing to kind of navigate in their day-to-day life with their children and how they interact in their families.
For real. I mean, the kids are doing it. Let's be real. The kids are doing it. So, I mean, they're going to learn some weird stuff we're going to get into from the porn, They're going to get into some weird.
I had a dial-up. I didn't have it this easy where you can just literally open up a screen and go.
I remember I was watching one pixel at a time, like, come on, titty. Come on.
Let me just see the areola.
Oh, someone's coming. Now. Exit. God damn it. You got to start all over. The 30-minute download.
30 minutes wasted.
Come on, titty.
It's chafed. All right.
This scene, I want to stick on this scene, Spencer. Do you have any questions about this scene, though?
I mean,
because this is loaded.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot in there. I mean, I don't know. Just kind of talking about just how do you have anybody, especially for the age group that you're in, you have people like Nas was talking about, I mean, that kind of hetero, just trying to get away from just thinking so much about being hetero like all the time and just being like, you can make like these comments of like, you can like kiss one.
Oh my God. Yeah, so he's talking about masculinity, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I talk to a lot of male clients of mine is that, what's up here doesn't ultimately mean anything. You can have a thought. That's the beautiful thing about fantasy. Fantasies are great. They're wonderful. They're safe as long as it's not harming yourself or others. Fantasy doesn't always have to mean action. A lot of the time, we're just fantasizing left and right within our minds. Things will pop into our head. Again, just because it pops into your head doesn't mean anything. One of the things I really liked about this scene, though, and why I picked it was because going back to the masculinity piece, is this idea of like, oh, his penis was bigger than mine. Like, what does that mean? And it goes to this concept of size and what that means to the ego and the identity of male. And, thankfully, whether anybody wants to listen to it or not, science actually shows that size doesn't matter. The girth, yes, girth.
Let's fucking go. Wait a minute. Let's fucking go. Science
We're not talking
proves.
about a shrimp, though. A shrimp.
I'm throwing a toothpick in the Grand Canyon, and it's a good time.
Oh my god!
Was it good for you, girl? You started.
It was good for me.
I'm done.
That's right.
Let's go back to the buffet.
The buffet.
So explain this. Explain the science. So this is a myth, huh? Because
Yeah, it is. It does not add up in the science. But again, I will at least emphasize that girth does have an effect on certain sensations. I mean, when we're talking about heterosexual sex, this is what I'm talking about. The first 2/3 of the vaginal opening have absolutely no nerve endings. There's no feeling whatsoever. Yeah. And so for the data that we have, about 80% of women are not orgasming with penetration alone. They're orgasming because of clitoral stimulation. And when we did a study on females and asking their experience around, does it matter? There is a lot of women that actually said that the only reason they thought it was matter was because society told them it did. And so they run after this idea. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people that are going to think size matters because guess what? Beliefs are strong. So if you believe it, of course it's going to matter. But anatomically speaking, size does not matter.
There you go.
It's just like, yes, the science behind the dick size. Let's see here. Yes.
Pulls out a tape measure.
Yes, perfect.
Well,
size.
think about it too. I work with a variety of clients, variety of ages, and I have older clients in their 70s, their 80s, and their 90s where a man's penis is no longer working.
True.
And so they have to relearn what sex looks like without a penis. And believe it or not, sex life ratings is actually greater in terms of satisfaction when they remove the penis in terms of a heterosexual intimacy and sex. Mm-hmm.
Get rid of that dick, boy. It's time.
You heard it. We're all chopping. What she wants to, what do they call it? They want to eunuch us, the women, right? Yeah. This is how
Get rid of the dick.
They're sterilizing America. That's what they're doing here, folks. You heard it here.
Science proves it.
And again, that is not saying that if you like a penis and you like a big penis, that there's anything wrong with you. It's just when we look at the science, look at that.
Look at that big penis. That's disgusting.
Well, even like the clip said, she said she had one that was kind of lengthy, and it was a little too much.
We all know she was lying. We all know it.
We all know he's not fit in that department. He
Yeah.
had to wear a saddle.
She said he's the slipper that fits the shoe or the foot that fits the slipper. Or something.
Well, yeah.
I'm making a lot of jokes here, right? And I hope everyone listening, right, is catching on to all the sarcasm. So getting away from like the penis size things, because that is funny, and we know some of the data. It's personal preference, all that. It's kind of cool to know the nerve endings, right? The actual science, though. And so this happens a lot in my office working with college students. And it's like, so relationship good, the communication good, yeah, it's good. The sex good? The sex. We talk about sex in here? I'm like, yeah, we gotta talk about sex. It's good. He be laying that pipe, boy. He be laying that pipe, don't you, boy?
God.
You be happy as a motherfucker when you coming in. I be knowing you be happy, girl.
I just did it.
And so I just did it. I just got piped up. Again, all jokes. But it's actually quite funny when people don't think that they're going to talk about sex in the therapy room. That's often a thing in relationships, especially with like longer term relationships. Where's the intimacy at? Right. You're not just going to be horned up all the time, like the first few months in college relationships, right? There's some things that dwindle. There's some emotional needs that need to be met. And when you're working with clients and you see intimacy maybe fall down, mental and emotional, which then leads most likely into decline of sexual intimacy, right?
Mm-hmm. So we know, and we have research, I love my research, right? When we show less satisfaction in the relationship, we're going to see less satisfaction sexually. You then also have people, though, however, that struggle being vulnerable and expressing themselves. So the bedroom actually gets amplified because it's a space for them to have that, quote, vulnerability, that pent up energy. And it's a form of connectedness that they're not creating with open communication and healthy communication. And it's interesting you say how like the college students were like, oh, we're going to talk about sex. Believe it or not, mental health providers feel the exact same way in terms of the second a client goes and starts talking about sex. Oh, nope, you need to see sex therapist. I'm not touching that. Like, what? And that in itself is, right?
No,
I'm not even trying right now.
Don't even, girl, if you see that, you're pervert now, right? Don't be touching it. You know, I'm joking.
I'm touching it.
That's your problem, girl. You ain't touching it enough.
Tisk. So
I like to flick it.
You know, a client, just a little flick.
See if it's awake.
You know what just my mind went to? You know how they flick your arm when you're going to get blood work?
Oh yeah. Just like
what I was thinking of, like the penis, you know, flick it, get the blood work done.
Flick it.
The blood
see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens.
This motherfucker dead. He dead.
That's all right. Research supports. It's okay if it's dead. We got it. We're good.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so like when a client comes to a therapist and they start talking about sex, and then you have this therapist telling them like, oh, you need to see a specialist. You know how much shame, like it's just so hard. Like you're already struggling. And now your own therapist is like, oh, I don't know, and go to this, it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of shame around our sexuality from all corners of our experience, unfortunately.
Thank you.
I think my ADHD got the best of me there. I think I might have full circled that.
No, that was perfect. Yeah, no, we're having fun. So I want to pivot back to the scene, and then we're going to have some more fun in the later conversations. So the scene, you picked it because of this comparison stuff. Mm-hmm. And so what the hell was that? What's that about? This comparison, right? So you talked about it with the masculinity and the size and all that, but how does it differ for women?
For women, so for all of my women clients that I work with who come to me in a heterosexual relationship, the comparison that they are creating is this idea of what sex should look like for them that isn't pleasurable. So they're having sex and they're not actually enjoying it. And that is where we can see patterns of low desire set in, because if you're having sex and engaging in something that's not about your pleasure, why are you going to want to engage in it? Like, it's not there. And there is a narrative also for women, in heterosexual relationships of what, quote, sex should look like. I mean, when you really map out what sex looks like heterosexually, a man gets an erection, penetration ensues, and then he ejaculates and sex is over. That's how you know sex is over. The man ejaculates. But that's not realistic to the female anatomy and the experience, especially when you add in the ADHD bit, which is what I specialize in, with distractions and hypersensitivity and overstimulation. And it's like, you can't just have this start to finish, but most of us do. I mean, I'm going to get sensitive here and just give you some insight. When I met my husband, for the first year or so, we were having sex and my orgasms were not there. We were like 2 years into our relationship, and I turned to him, I was like, I'm done faking my orgasms. And it was funny because he's like, I knew it. I was like, you knew it? Why didn't you say anything? He's like, I don't know. It's not a conversation you have. It's like, what was I supposed to say, right? But that in itself is the disconnect, right? Where we just keep feeding into the comparison of what we should be instead of just talking to our damn partner and being like, hey, what do we want? Like, what do we want this to look like? How do we set this up? And that's the comparison.
That's what it was. And you actually, so hopefully things have gotten better since then, I would assume.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And so, and what was the key solution was like talking about what your needs and wants are. Let's do this. I want that. Actually, a little to the left.
Yeah, that. And we also do give and take. It's not a start to finish thing. And we know that that works in the field of research because a lot of queer relationships are more give and take than the start to finish. When we compare heterosexual sex to individuals who are gay and their experiences, they're having higher orgasms, they're having higher satisfaction because by default, their intimacy and their sex is set up very differently than heterosexual sex.
So there's two key points I just heard is if you're not having an orgasm, you might as well start switch hitting.
Switch
hitting. You know, you're playing for a different team now. You know, you're playing for the Cubs.
Let's put the strap on.
Yep. And she said it was the emotional intimacy. Girl, you're lying. You know he got one of them penile enlargements. He went and got one of them radiator hoses from AutoZone. So I know
it's AutoZone.
Yeah, he unfolded that shit the next day when you said you weren't climaxing.
Hey girl, let me show you what it's really about.
You like, oh shit!
That's what you've been hiding.
Where'd you get that from? It's like an attachment from the vacuum.
Jeez.
It's a toy. I know. I'm so sorry.
No, you're not.
I'm really not.
Love her.
Right, but this is magnificent information, right? It's about guiding clients through this stuff. This is what you think it looks like. This ain't actually what it is when you're talking to your client. Mm-hmm. And I find it really interesting. You being a woman, you have privileges in this conversation where I don't. It's because you will be seen as someone more, they can open up to men and women, be more vulnerable, maybe talk more about sex and this and that. Now, when you get this big masculine boy like me, and they're like, wait a minute. And I'm like, we got to talk, we got to talk about it, It can get really awkward, but then they see that I'm cool with it. I don't get fazed by it at all. So they don't get fazed by it. And it's magnificent when my boy's like, hey man, I've been hiding something for years. And I'm like, you're jerking off too much, aren't you? No. I immediately know it's masturbation issues and OCD. I immediately know. And they're waiting for me to be angry or mad at them, to shame them. And I'm like, bro, you ain't getting it from me. You want to do harm reduction? Let's do it. Because, there's some things you want to get lower on. We don't need to, but it's terrible and it's a sin. I'm going to hell for doing this. I'm like, okay, well, you done jacked off so much that you guaranteed to go to hell. So let's just lessen it a little.
Oh my God.
You're going to hell no matter what. You can't take all them.
Saw you.
You can't take back all them orgasms, brother. They ain't going nowhere.
God has replay. He does it over and over again.
And you're actually talking again about the comparisons. So many of my clients and my students that I get, they think that if I masturbate every day or whatever their number of masturbation is, automatically it's bad. And the same thing with sex. Science just has not figured out a number that's considered bad or good. It's all about, is it causing distress to your day-to-day functioning? And, that in itself is going to determine whether it's just unhealthy because you are not okay with it because either society has told you that that's not okay, or it's causing a significant amount of distress where you're not able to show up in your day-to-day. And then that's a different story. Like I had somebody recently come to me for hypersexuality, and we had one session and we found out that they weren't actually experiencing hypersexuality. They just had a higher sex drive than most people they were meeting, but they weren't distressed in any other way outside of not finding somebody that was connected in the same way sex drive.
Yep.
And that is the comparisons also within how we're, having orgasms and the masturbation, etc.
Facts. When you look at, because I want you to talk on this. So, men, supposedly it's all about this one thing, right? And what you're going to do, penetration, all that stuff, right? But obviously there's a lot of things to it, but we specifically talk about that in size. For women though, is there a core belief that women, that they need to have a certain figure for men to like climax, to be attracted to them? I would assume, is it like I need to have the big old breasts or the BBL? Is that a thing, like where you're comparing yourself where the other men are comparing themselves, like in a bathroom, shower, porn, whatever?
Not necessarily in my experience as a clinician. That's not to say that it could be something going on. I do see a lot of insecurities that a lot of female clients of mine have within their body and their image. So yes and no in terms of answering your question. Like it's this idea, like if I have a stomach, like I don't want my partner seeing it, and that in itself comes from the comparison piece. But I don't see it anywhere near as much as I feel men compare themselves as a whole within their sexuality as women do. but women do have their own comparisons for sure that comes up negatively for them.
Own things. The reason why I pause on this is because we end up just hating so much about our bodies, or everything. We hate everything. And it's just weird. How does the world do that? It just, you're too big, you're too small, you're too dark, you're too brown, hair's too short, you're too thin, you're too fat. And it's just like, how do we always dislike ourselves? It's a weird curse. I tell people when they start going to the gym, I said, this is the first day you're going to realize you hate yourself more than what you thought. They're like, what? Because now when you start going to the gym, you're getting stronger or thinner or bulkier, whatever it is. You're always going to want more and more. And so it feeds into this beast. It could be a healthy beast, but sometimes it's not always the best. And I know when it comes to sexuality of clients, there's a lot of distortions. And what's the wants and needs for partners? Men, women, doesn't really matter. There's a lot of distortions. So I'm glad we're having this conversation today.
Yeah, I mean, for me, personally, I've always struggled. I'm a plus size girl, and I've always had an insecurity with my stomach, and it's always caused a disconnect in the bedroom. And I finally got to the point where I was like, I need to normalize this. And I was talking to my husband about it, and his approach was hilarious, but we went with it. He just grabbed my stomach fat and was just like shaking it randomly. And he would just randomly come up to me and just shake my stomach. And I'm like, all right, I guess this is one way to normalize it. And I was totally fine with it. We had a discussion, obviously. He wasn't like, infringing upon my body without my consent, but he got me to normalize it. And now I just feel so fucking comfortable in front of him because he made it normal. It wasn't like, oh, no, right? And that's what I was doing because of that insecurity, because of that, comparison.
It gets in the way of intimacy and climaxing for both parties, big time.
100%.
Because you're focused on all that bullshit instead of like, oh, damn, this feels pretty damn good.
Your brain is your biggest sex organ.
Hey, I got a big ass head, so I got one of the biggest sex organs there are, Spencer. Here we go.
That's all you got, motherfucker.
That's why I said that. I'm measuring up, bitch.
Hey, I'm big up here, okay?
I got the biggest of the big, it's gigantic. Thank you for putting some words to that, though, right? That's that biggest organ is the brain. It's complicated conversations, man. There's going to be a lot of cringy moments in this pod, but this is the only way you're going to learn. This is the only way you're going to explore. This is the only way you're going to finally start being intimate with your partner with the lights on, with your clothes all the way off. Right, instead of weird specific positions where they can't see nothing, right? We talk about this in therapy. This is what we do. All right, Spence, take us away.
Yeah, next scene. All right, so we have Jesse. Or no, it's not Jesse. Yeah, it's Jesse. Jesse. Jesse, who's getting to know herself, right? Down there. And so she's having this conversation with her vulva.
Good
there you go.
job.
Yeah, that's right. I saw your Instagram page. I didn't say vagina. Even though I say it anyways. And so talking about how, just exploring herself and seeing what she likes, but then also just learning about what her vulva or vagina is. And so this is a conversation that I feel like a lot of women should be having, but that's also a tough one, right? She's having this conversation while also looking in the mirror at her vulva. And so in your experience, and as you kind of pointed out too, it's just there's not really a education around this topic, especially when it comes to women. So what has been your experience with that, and how do you educate other women on this?
So my experience is most of the clients that I get, they don't really know their anatomy. I mean, I didn't know my anatomy up until a certain point when I really started getting into this field and I was educating on it and all that. So education, usually the first session or two, you see people's whole mindset start to shift right then and there. Generally the work that I'm doing in terms of sexuality, just as a side note, is relatively short term because it's that education piece. The second they realize and recognize and They can release themselves from the shame and the unrealistic narrative, and they can recreate their sex and their intimacy, do what they want. They're golden.
They're good.
But, you know, it's really interesting because when you were talking about the mirror, that's actually an exercise a lot of us sex therapists will actually ask women to do if they themselves don't really know their body.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for us growing up, we do not explore our bodies. We don't have the space to do so. We're not given the quote tools on how to. And so when we're talking about orgasms in adulthood, if you don't know your anatomy, you don't even know what it looks like, you don't know how you want it to feel, you can never explore an experience with somebody else. So it's interesting because that episode is actually using a tool a lot of us sex therapists will do as homework. Go look at your vulva in the mirror, see what you see, explore, get familiar with it, you know? Yeah.
I wonder, next time a student comes in for anxiety, have you looked at your vulva lately?
No, I haven't. I might try it.
Well, that's your power source right there. You know, that's the ultimate. That's plus ultra right there, girl. Anime reference.
And we actually see, I see it also in my college students. You know, I do an exercise in my class, which all of my students absolutely love. I write the anatomical words for the female anatomy on the whiteboard. So vagina, vulva, clitoris, breast. And then I have them tell me all the slang that we usually use for these words. And it gets me into the lesson. And without a fail, every single time out of like 25 to 40 students in a class, everyone doesn't have a word for vulva. Most people are like, what is that? I don't know what that is. Because we come from a space and an environment that teaches us the whole thing is a vagina, when that's not the case. So, you know, for us and the education and knowing about our anatomy, it's really important. So again, how are you going to be able to communicate and explore if you don't know it?
It's empowering, but also freeing, right? It's this is how you're going to be in the world. This is the things you need to know. This is will help you in the bedroom and intimacy in your relationships. This will stop you from like what I hate my dad right now. When he had to talk with me, he's like, you know, son, it ain't about, you know, I know you're scared because, you know, she been, you know, you told me she's been with some big dick boys now. And I was like, Dad, I'm terrified. Like, how am I? I've never had sex before in my life. And she's like, it's about making love. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I mean, I looked at her and I was done. I got to go in there? Jesus. And it was so affirming. I mean, we're talking like, this is like high school, man. And like, I should know about this. You know, you're a professional at porn in high school. But when you actually start going into like relationships, you're like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
And I was terrified. I'm talking to my friends like, hey man, what you do with this, that, you know, Pops is going over erogenous zones in my worst nightmare. He's like, you know, yeah, me and your mother used to try some crazy shit. You know, I tear out the frame. I'm like, I don't need to know this shit. I'm like, bro. And then my mom got in the conversation. She's like, you know, if you want to please a woman, because she's the most sexually experienced person I know at this time. It's not my homegirls. So I'm like, Ma. So that talking between me and my ma was interesting because she's
good Lord.
Experienced. She knows what she's doing.
You want to cradle them, you know?
And so I asked her, I was terrified. And I have no idea if it was beneficial. I just remember my dog.
Yeah.
my dog. It was a good moment.
That was a Freudian slip there.
I know it was. Peanut butter, anybody? And my dad, I say to my clients now, it's about making love.
Yeah.
And they're like, you ever made love to your girlfriend? And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But also, all jokes aside, there's this difference between like this exchange, this very transactional sex thing between actual real emotions, intimacy, and this thing that we call like legit exchange and love. This where like we're swapping, like we're like legit one now. My clients are like, holy shit, this is intense. Obviously, this is what we have with my couples or with some of my folks that are just they're getting bored of hooking up in the hookup culture. And I'm like, we're not meant for this shit, this hookup culture. This is not meant for, You're longing of love and intimacy and the partnership, companionship, a friend. But like a friend you happen to, touch. Again.
Yeah, touch them.
It's fun with your autistic clients when you're like, and they're asexual and they're like, I want to do that shit. Oh, saliva and peanut. You ain't put nothing in me. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to have that type of sex, penetrative sex.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. Or, I'm like, have you thought about even just trying to kiss? He's like, how do I even practice kissing? I said, look that shit up on Google. Jujule it. And they'll do it. They'll show me these practice tutorials, right? And all this shit. And I said, just remember, right? Because couple of my clients are very hyperphantasic. Remember that both of you are slopping saliva and like licking each other's face, and remember all the germs and parasites that are on it. And she goes, the fuck would you tell me this? Just remember how dirty your mouth is.
Remember, dirty mouth.
The visual of that client, they were physically ill from that conversation. Physically. I guess I bring this up because I know we're talking a lot about anatomies, but now I'm going to do a little pivot to like asexual stuff. So have you had any clients that are exploring their bodies and maybe they're talking about, right, whether it be, doesn't matter what gender, their genitals, and they're like, you know what? I don't really get any gratification from it at all. I don't really want it at all. It's like, oh, it's kind of fun, but then I'm bored of it. So I know that's got to be somewhat of an ADHD thing where they time out because they're like, oh, the beginning of sex is fun. After about 30 seconds, I'm like, get off of me, you hooey. And so it's interesting conversations navigating. Is this a sexuality thing? Are we ace? Are we aromantic? Is this just not what you want? Do we need to explore our bodies more? How do you handle these conversations, specifically when it comes to women? Let's focus on women first.
Yeah. So, I've had clients that are asexual or they are ace and they're demisexual or gray asexual. Those are the two specifically that I've worked with. I'm not an asexuality specialist. There's some great content on Instagram and TikTok for those types of things. But in regards to, like, for instance, I've had people come to me who've never had sex before. And so they're struggling with, am I asexual or am I just nervous? Right. And it's all about mapping, like, well, what do you like? What do you not like? You don't have to have had done it to have some inkling of what interests you, what doesn't interest you. And, really engaging and exploring those things. And specifically for ADHD, my go-to is map out how your ADHD is showing up. Look at the history of your behavior. Is this common ground for you? Have you had past experiences sexually that you've enjoyed, or are you just now not enjoying them? What has changed? There's a lot that goes into it. At the end of the day, my go-to is, what's causing you distress? Where do we go from here? And how do we get you to feel happy about your sexuality? And then I guide my clients, with that information by just exploring and unpacking everything. I like to always use Shrek the onion. We are like onions. We have so many layers. And I like to pull back all the layers and figure out what does it all look like and how do we get you to just a resolution of like who you are and what you want.
There you go. Sometimes it smells like an onion.
Oh my fucking God.
I remember telling my dad, I said, is it supposed to smell funny? He's like, what do you mean? Before or after? I was like, both. He's like, you should be showering after. I was like, okay.
Okay. All right. That's why that stench is there.
I remember the first time because I heard a joke. The word, Spence, you remember this movie? What movie? It smells like Badussy in here.
Badussy. Badussy. I think that was House Party 2.
Was it? Or was it one of the Fridays?
No, it was House Party 2 with Bernie Mac and Kid and Play. Yeah. And
I remember when I was in college and I walked into my girlfriend at the time, her dorm room. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, it smells fucking terrible in here. And you could feel the steam in the room. And that was my first time in college. I was like, oh, so this is why he's supposed to shower afterwards. He's like, it can get a little rank up in there now, you know.
I used to joke with my girlfriends about when I was single and exploring that men like to do this scratch and sniff where they do their thing and then they pretend to scratch their nose just to make sure everything's fine and dandy before they commit.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Calling you all out here.
Hey, the scratch and sniff is universal for a lot of different things because I'll see people
like grilled cheese.
I'll see people scratch their head or pick their nose with their ear, and then they always do that drive-by.
You know, gotta make sure.
My dad calls me out on the pod. He's like, I seen you scratching your head and then smelling it, Nas. He said, stop doing that shit.
He was like, so getting back to your clip.
Rebecca?
Shanice? The hell? How'd you get back in there? Lamar.
Don't shame me, motherfucker. Yeah, this is some interesting stuff, man. We've never talked about any stuff on the pod, so we're having a blast. But this is not a fully in depth what we've done before. So, Spencer, any more other things on this women's anatomy? Questions around that?
I mean, other than like my basic inquiry.
Oh, okay.
What does it mean?
What is the most common? When people don't know this stuff, you said it only lasts a couple sessions, but like, what's the most common thing that they come in for your clients that are having sexual dysfunction issues in the bedroom? Is it usually because of anatomy? Is it because of intimacy? They've been together too long? They're gay? Well, like what's
Why
this?
say it like that? Like, gang.
Well, I've got a few. My one boy, he's like, we just not having sex like we used to. I was like, didn't you just tell me you've never felt more safe and loved when you was in the arms of another man? I think you're gay, bro.
You might. I want to switch sides.
I think it's, well, how dare you? I'm not gay. Come back a year later, I'm gay as hell. I was like, yeah, I told you.
Yeah, smelled it.
Yes, queen.
Oh,
So what's the biggest reason why people do come in to see you, Sears?
So I specialize in ADHD and sexuality. So the biggest number one reason is for ADHDers trying to figure out the disconnect and reconnecting. So generally it's going to be because of sensory hypersensitivity, hyperfixations, low desire, hypersexuality, or quote, porn addiction, believe it or not, erectile dysfunction. But when couples come in, it's just, again, the pressure and the shame associated with what I should be versus how I should be kind of mentality. But generally it's ADHD related. I'm really helping my clients set up their sex for success, but also by setting up their relationship up for success by self-compassion, leaning into your disability, stop trying to be neurotypical. You're not neurotypical. And that just adds to the further disconnect and the shame that we're still trying to unlearn. And that generally is the most popular reason why people come to see me.
Do you see it higher rates of inability to climax and being ADHD, or like
100%?
People just popping off?
No, 100%. I work with a lot of more of the clients with ADHD that are struggling to have orgasms and connect in the bedroom. Yeah, because there's a variety of different reasons, and everyone's different. So that's why it's like a tailored approach for all of my clients. And that's why I go back to, like, we map out how their ADHD is showing up. You know how like ADHD coaches will do it to help people like structure their homes and et cetera, and their career. I do it for the bedroom and in your relationship.
There you go. I've had it where women and men, both, doesn't matter gender, non-binary, right? There's an inability to be in the moment. That's what I always find the biggest issue. And so a lot of my boys, when they're doing their thing, right, they're not climaxing at all. And then the girls are like, well, do you not think I'm attractive? Is it that you don't love me? And right, because he's like, well, no, that's not it. And it's like, well, have you been a whore yourself as a dude, right? And you just, you just have all the sex in the world. And it's interesting, and it gets very intimate with me and the client, because we're talking about how to be in the moment, how to ground yourself in the moment. So you're doing a lot of grounding techniques. That's what I end up doing to get them to be more mindful in what they're doing and picking up the sensory information. Because I said, what's going on? I said, my brain's going everywhere, man. I ain't thinking about nothing. Or some of them all they do is focus on the other person's needs. And so they completely forget about themselves. They're like, there's just some autonomous robot just pleasuring this. And I'm like, you can't go about it like this. Well, that hyperfixation just goes on them. And then now they never climax.
I always like to say a lot of my clients were having threesomes. One's up here, and then you got them and their partner.
And let me tell you a little bit about it, threesome.
Let me tell you about it. I like to sit. I like to sit in the corner.
I knew it. I knew you were gonna go there. I knew it. I like to watch.
But I like to listen to the conversation. You know, I like
reading about their personalities rather than looking at their breasts.
Yeah. Oh, she just trying to.
Beetlejuice is down.
Oh, Beetlejuice fell.
I just saw that.
Well, he
didn't like that.
Well, he just climaxed. So. Typical man, climax and leave.
Yep.
Was it good?
How did you know?
Was it good for you, girl? I didn't feel anything. Oh, okay. Well, give me my money back. So that's the thing. It's inability to climax. For women, I found it to be somewhat the same as well. Focused on pleasuring the other individual and also just flighty of mind. So the brain's on this and that, homework and all. So it's fun for a minute and then it's not fun. And so thus comes the intrusive thought is, I don't love this person. If I'm not climaxing, that means I don't like them. I'm not into it. And so that leads into a very scary thing. Or, oh, maybe I am gay. And then we explore it without hatred. That's got to be horrific.
And you're still talking about the comparisons specifically with desire. You know, people think that if you lose that quote spontaneous, that something's wrong with your relationship. And, you know, if you're not able to get hard or be ready to go for your partner and, you know, spontaneous, that then there must be something wrong. But what most people don't know is that most people, as they age and as they're in relationships, they shift from a spontaneous desire to a responsive desire, where you need to have sex to get horny, not that you're horny to have sex. So it's kind of like, I like to give the example of, like, you know, when you make plans with somebody and you're all pumped when you make the plans, and then come day to go out, you're like, fuck, what did I just do? And you're dreading it, and you're trying to get ready, and you're going, and you're still dreading it. And it isn't until you get there and the music is going and you start getting into it and you're then having a good time. It's the exact same thing in our relationships and our intimacy. We're not spontaneous for long term. It's not meant for us, you know. And there are some people that can be that spontaneous person, but for most people, responsive. We need to get it going beforehand. And so with people, more people knew this, they wouldn't judge their relationship so heavily, where like, oh, I guess something's wrong, because if I can't do it here, well, then we don't have a healthy relationship. But that's not the case.
That makes sense, Spence. I haven't been in a relationship long term like this in a minute, where I can coach people up on this, Spence. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all about making sure to have that communication, right? It's all about, it all comes back to the communication, making sure, you know, everybody's happy, right? Everyone's happy. But kind of going off of that, I mean, it's just like, do you find it, like, especially when we're talking about like endurance, right? Doing a long time, maybe not even like orgasming at all, especially when it comes to the men and not orgasming. I think that there is also a thing where some women get a little bit self-conscious, and they think that like, hey, what the hell? Like, he didn't finish. So is it me? Is it what I'm doing? Is it something else?
I'm not attractive.
And then, yeah, it's all of that. And, you know, yeah. Have you seen that a little bit of just being like that kind of insecurity, especially when it comes to the other side, just being like, oh, I didn't do this correctly, or I need to change something in order to get this to happen?
Yeah, it goes back to the narratives I just spoke about before.
Yep.
How we as women are supposed to show up. If our man isn't ejaculating, then we didn't do a good job. He must not be attracted to me. You know, I should be the one to get him hard. And if I'm not, then it's, you know, I'm a failure. I'm not. You guys are so cute, just chuckling over there while I'm saying all these words.
Oh,
Just have to point that out.
We're straight idiots. I'm sorry.
So
Continue to go.
ejaculate, I'm just like,
You're adorable.
She said penis.
But yeah, you know, most of the women I work with, it's unlearning that no, you're not a failure. And as long, because most of the time if a man comes in and he has erectile dysfunction, guess what? Your partner is also dealing with pressure and performance anxiety because now they themselves have taken it upon themselves to think that they're a failure. And now they're just as much of anxious and disconnect as you are. And so when people come to me individually, I'm like, quick question. Does your partner know about this? Yes. Okay. Does it affect them? Yes. Okay. Where are they? Why are you here alone? We need that person to come in here because you have to both unlearn it. And that's the majority of the actual work I do with people outside of the realm of ADHD as well.
There you go. Even in therapy, still a threesome.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry.
Code of ethics is going to come at me now.
Yeah, no, you're fine. We do not endorse any relations with clients on this podcast, right?
We don't endorse threesomes on this podcast. Don't you do it.
So this is super outside the box here. This is a thing that happens, though. There's a lot of jokes about it. But we've talked about on The Boys how there's this thing called the murder boner.
Oh, God. Yes.
So we're not going to talk about the murder boner.
Have you had somebody who's committed a murder
And they get horny? No.
too
So that's not it. So I will have clients that say like, hey, someone has cried with them and showed extreme vulnerability. And a client has been like, I got a little horny when they were like crying and vulnerable. And so this is talking about like they getting either horny or like some gratification, right? Maybe they getting turned on by like this intimacy or by this other awkward thing that shouldn't happen. Have you heard of this? I know it has a lot to do with like neurology and where some things are wired, but have you heard of this type of thing going on with clients? Because I know some of mine have had a deep shame around it because they're like, this person's crying with me and I'm fucking over here like, hey.
No, actually, I have never heard of this before. And I love being in this field because there's always something new getting thrown at me. I've never heard of that before. And I can honestly, the first thing that I was thinking of as you were saying that was, I wonder about the hormones that go off when you are being intimate and vulnerable, right? And how the progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone can play a role in then how we are reacting emotionally, indeed also like a form of intimacy that maybe they've always been longing for. So it turns them on a little bit. I mean, there's tons of variables there, 100%. But I personally have never dealt with that, no.
Yeah, I think it might be a thing in the neurodivergent community too, is that there's some certain things that get triggered with these neurons. With all my clients that have expressed this, and they're like, what the hell is going on right now? Like this person's crying in front of me and I'm like, please don't do that. And so I know that was a random one. It's only been brought up a few times. That was with significant shame and guilt because they were some really awesome people that were there for other people and supportive. And then this weird thing happened. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, you're also talking about memories, right? Memories aren't just things that you can recall. They're a bundle of actual memories within your emotions. So when you're then talking about sensory experience, it just takes one sensory in your environment to trigger the memory that's associated with the emotion and then bawling your eyes out and you were like, what is going on?
Yep. And it could be the same thing with also like some type of stimulation. Something is triggered 100%. That you enjoyed or in the past or something. It's weird how the brain is connected and wired. I just know it's a thing that's come up with clients.
Yeah.
All right. I think we got one more or two more scenes, Spence.
Two more.
Let's move. Let's mosey.
Actually, yeah, we got three more. Never mind.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So this one has to do with, well, I think they kind of merge into like the same scene. We once again have Jesse and she's talking to her vulva and talking and she's experimenting with masturbation, right? And so she's kind of talking to both her hormone monster and then also her vajayjay, and just she's feeling a lot of shame, especially around doing this act, right? And so we kind of talked about it a little bit, just kind of like having that shame in there, but it's like when you're first exploring, how does this shame really affect us like long term rather than short term? Or like what have you seen at least like long term, the effects of like having this like shame or pressure on yourself to really be sexual?
Well, it goes back to, and I think that's a great question because it goes back to, I never really like to bring them up, but you know how Freud said the first 5 years of our development is really important. Well, a lot of the messages that we receive in childhood into adolescence is either going to be on a level of sex positive or negative and shame. And we know, thanks to longitudinal studies and surveys, that the majority of women that are struggling with orgasms and security around masturbation and their body is because their first interaction with it was done in a space where it was just shame, complete shame. And it is everlasting, you know. It could be like a vivid memory, if you will. Like, you know, it's powerful. And so when we start to explore, and you know, I have clients that feel that they shouldn't be masturbating because they're in a relationship. Like, I shouldn't be mad. Why should I be masturbating? I have somebody. And then they feel this disconnect and this guilt associated with masturbating because society also tells us that we only masturbate if we're alone. Like, that's what you do alone. And it's like, no, you don't masturbate. Go have some fun. Get the climax, get the orgasm.
Blow it out.
It's so needed. There you go, like a whale. Blow it out. You're good.
Blow it out, pull it out. Put it in. You know, it's just
Put it in.
It. I'm gonna stop.
Yep.
Yeah, no. We just put new things in here. We see what happens. Did one don't fit. I know they do.
Cucumber, not good.
Not good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I like that scene in particular.
Sorry, I was gonna say Dragon Ball.
Oh, gotta collect them all. Make a wish. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please go. Get us out of here.
Oh, I totally lost my train of thought.
ADHD.
The visual of the Dragon Ball anal beads.
Collect all 7.
Jesus, you get 7 of them in there?
Hey, you know, that's how it goes.
Super Saiyan?
Jesus Christ. The dragon comes out. All right, anyways.
Oh my God, did it lay eggs in?
I made my wish. All right, I made my wish.
This is what I wish for. I am so sorry. What were we just talking about?
We were just talking about just the pressures and shame of
masturbation in general.
Masturbation.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's more shame around women masturbating than men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I was a sex toy consultant, I would try to advertise to a variety of women, and I wanted to provide education. And one of the number one things that they would tell me is like, I don't need a vibrator. I have a boyfriend. Like, that's not what the research says.
Well.
Jeez. She leans heavy on the research. I love it. You're like, hey,
research
girl.
says
the research
you
says
should be jerking at least 5 times a day. All right, go for it.
Research says you're not happy unless you're completely cummed out.
No.
I wanted to say that earlier because I can see in heterosexual, no, it doesn't matter. Any relationship. I feel like, specifically hetero, but any relationship, I feel like if some folks, they're like, if my partner isn't completely drained, then I am not good at sex. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't think that's how that goes. I've heard this.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've heard this, man. They said he gonna be fucking empty. I've seen this in shows too, or like women talking about, if your man's cheating on you, that's because you ain't, emptying that gun. I'm like, shut the fuck up. He's gonna hate any other coochie he sees.
If he ain't walking funny, you ain't doing it right.
I know.
I understand.
And I'm like, wow, this feels like it's too much pressure, too much that hypersexuality, a lot of insecurities, right? If there's some cheating going on, I don't think it's because not cheating, it's because you're draining his snake, quote unquote. That was the quote.
Quote unquote.
Yeah. As we talk about this masturbation thing, this is an interesting topic, man. When you first, I'm a pivot and then we can get to the next scene. So when you visualize yourself doing therapy, did you think you would be talking about these things and pulling things out of things? And is this what you thought life was going to be, a sex toy, sex, masturbate? Did you think you were going to end up on this pod with us two chuckleheads talking about wieners?
No, and I absolutely love where my life has gone. I love being able to be on platforms like this and talking openly about sex and challenging the taboo, fear narrative, breaking shame, and just talking more about it. One of the reasons I, as a therapist, we have this thing where we're not supposed to self-disclose, right? I'm self-disclosing because part of my thing is that I want to empower people, my clients, the people who follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's important to speak openly about it. And, if you choose not to, that's fine. But there's no shame for those who do speak and do put it out there. So I never thought this would be my life, but I'm loving life right now.
Wild.
I get to talk about sex every single day. I just had a client the other night. He's in his, I think, 60s or 70s. And he taught me a new word for the vulva. It was just randomly talking. And he's like, yeah, the kudawada. I was like, wait, what? I'm a fan. I'm taking it. I love it. I mean, who gets to do that on a day-to-day basis and get paid for that?
There you go. This is the thing. I was talking to a client. This is a very different topic, but we think a lot of men can't be therapists or work with women. We think that, men can't work with women because it's going to cross boundaries, or women are never going to want to talk to a man. A man's never going to want to talk to a man. And so a lot of my women that I work with, they'll tell their boyfriends, specifically men, like, oh yeah, your therapist is a male. Your therapist is a male? Well, I don't know, how's that work? Does he know about us? She's like, yeah, he knows about us. They always say, of course. And it's like, how do you like working with a male? They're like, oh, I love Nas. Nas is awesome. I don't think I'd want any other therapist. And like, does he know about our no time?
No time.
No.
And my one client recently goes, he even knows about your penis size. And that's when I lost my shit. I said, girl, you ain't need to say that shit.
You know how long it is, boy. Give me a high five.
I mean, we were terrified because he kept making small penis jokes. And she was like, oh my God, Nas, what if it is small? I'm like, girl, it's fine. Just wait and let's see how it works and all this. And then like a week later, she's like, guess what? Is good. I said, it's good. It is good. And I was like, girl, I'm happy for you. I can't believe this is my job now where I'm talking to other women about their partner's dingle size.
Dingle size.
The dingle dongle. It's hilarious. I can't believe that I'm in this trusted space to do this, to lead people in this sexual realm with their partner and intimacy and all these different things, right? And then other people be like, you as a man can't do this. And you sure as hell can't do it my way where it's laughing and funny, because the same things we're saying now is how I act with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the other day, one of the women, they were like, God damn it, Nas, keep it together. I said, what do you want? You just told me about your man's Shuba Baba. And now, what, I'm supposed to just be like, that's a normal Shuba Baba for me to be talking about?
You call it Chupacabra?
Shuba Baba. And like, I love when they show me pictures. God, like, girl, show me a picture. Not of that. Not of that.
What?
Of him when they're dating on Tinder. I said, girl, show me a picture on Tinder. What's he look like? That's a good looking man. And they're like, oh, he's ugly. What you mean he's ugly? Well, he's not this and that. I said, you got some. And then they end up dating these other guys. The reason I'm talking about this is because clients were talking about sexuality. What are we attracted to? The good majority of the time, I'm like, these people are all very attractive, objectively. But my clients have this distortion of this is what I need to be dating. This needs to be what they look like. This jawline, hairline, thinness, penis size, tall,
short.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, girl, you don't give a fuck about that. What are you talking about? I said, I've known you for 2 years now. You want to be loved? You want to have emotional intimacy and talk about feelings, and you want someone to laugh with and eat fucking Chinese food. You pretty much the female version of Nas. You just 100 pounds to the 350.
Yeah.
She's a 100-pound Indian woman. And so I remember I'll be pushing my girls to date like big guys, fat guys, because we provide all these things. Love food. You need a chubby man.
You're pushing the fat guys.
I push the fat guy narrative all the time. I'm grooming
You're
them.
like, you need a family.
You know what you need? You need a motherfucking
man.
I'm grooming them for high cholesterol. But for real, I like to talk about intimacy, and when they're getting from some of these jock guys or these preppy boys, I'm like, they keep treating you like shit because you keep picking shit. You focusing on nothing but looks. There's some other things we need to look at. You wonder why the sex ain't good because you're worried about performance and how they look better than you. That guy's a piece of shit. So it's interesting conversations that we have when we talk about intimacy, sex, masturbation, all of it. All of it. It's all tied together. All right. Last couple scenes, Spence.
All right, next one. We're talking about porn and the unrealistic messages of porn.
I'm watching it now.
In the background? I gotta watch, or else I can't function.
I need it.
Oh my God. And just like how just orgasms in general, especially on porn, are just not real. It's like, oh my God, it's my first time. Sure, buddy. Sure it is. All right.
Believe women.
Believe them. When they say it's their first time, it's true. But yeah, I mean, like, what are these unrealistic expectations that porn kind of gives us, especially in our own sex lives? What does it do? Why? What? Are you saying that like what they do in theirs and what I do in real life? Like, what is this? What?
Correct. Everything. Porn is entertainment. It has only one goal, to entertain. And unfortunately, most individuals that I see, college students and, friends even, I hear the stories of what sex should look like. That's not how that works. How many times have you seen a scene where like a guy and a girl are getting it on and like just slips it right in with no problem? Like, are you kidding me? Like, that is not how that works. Like, unless there was like a lot of lube that was pre-done and we did not see that, I don't know what person is going to welcome that with open arms. I call that friction galore, right? Like, that's just not normal. That's not how it works. And one of the biggest things that comes from porn negatively is this idea of how we should be performing like a man should just have an erection right away. Not every guy can get hard right away. A female should just be ready to go. She should be wet, ready to go. That's not how it works.
Oh.
And I have a lot of clients that don't even want to use lube because they feel lube means that you're failing.
Oh, wow.
Lube is wonderful. Lube does not mean anyone's failing. It means you get into more nooks and crannies. Everyone wants that, right?
Girl, pull out that side roll, girl.
Oh my God. Pull out that KY. Hey, here we go.
Girl, I'm about to butter these biscuits.
Where the butter at?
Jeez. Girl, I almost stopped.
Yep.
Continue. So yeah, you're talking about lube, all these different things. Yeah.
And again, it's not focusing on the female anatomy in terms of the clitoris when you watch most porn, unless it's lesbians, and that is not how a female generally is going to experience an orgasm. They need the clitoral stimulation. Breaking down the anatomy, most people don't even know this, but the clitoris isn't just something that's located externally. It's also internal. There's these like bulb-like legs that go inside. And when it is inflamed, because the clitoris is an erectile organ, it fills with blood just like a penis does, it puts pressure on the vaginal canal. And that's generally why women are able to have orgasms with penetration and clitoris stimulation, because the bulbs are actually pushing that pressure internally.
We'll go. You go there one more time. One more time.
Write it all down.
Let me write this down. 7.
So we got the bulb, and then the meat sandwich, and then that gets cooked, and then
gotta talk about like food. Yep.
And then you pack it in.
Yep.
And then
add some soy sauce to it.
And then and then she done. Okay.
And then she done.
I will come back. I'm gonna DM you the first time I get to try this out.
Oh my God. I did it.
I did it, mama. That girl pregnant as hell. I don't think that means she enjoyed it, Nazir. Well, I done it.
I did it. I did it.
I did it good. What happened? I don't know.
I blacked out.
I blacked out. That's the anxiety. I blacked out and I shit my pants.
Oh my gosh. Why do you have pants on?
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Hey, I'm still learning how this all goes, man. 40-year-old virgin over here, right? I'm still in this. I'm still waiting for, the God and the wedding and all that,
Oh, shut the
I'm
fuck
joking.
up.
I'm completely joking. Fuck was we talking about? I'm getting so lost in the sauce in this
You were
episode.
just lost in the sauce.
We were talking about clitoris, orgasm,
Man.
But specifically the unrealistic messages that
Oh,
we
from
get
porn.
from porn,
Yep.
especially as females. There's something called the orgasm gap, and it's talking about how man's pleasure is at the center of our interactions, heterosexually speaking, and the female pleasure is not. And one of the sad things that I see every single time I work with clients that are in heterosexual relationships is the woman thinking that the only way to an orgasm is through penetration. And it's like a very tricky tango to get her to open up and say the words, I am actually not orgasming, because it's like failing as a woman, right? Like, this is how I should be having an orgasm. And porn teaches it over and over and over again. But that's how the woman is screaming, right? Like, she's screaming with the penetration and, oh yeah, like, in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. And so we women, we take that, and I had the same exact experience until I started to learn. And like I said before, I sat down with my husband. I was like, I'm done faking my orgasms. This is not set up for my success.
It's just the fact that you have to fake it for so
2
long.
years, girl? That's a
I
long
know.
time. You were putting in the work.
Yep.
But how was it like?
So much
was it just
shame.
like, yes,
Absolutely. Now I'm a better actress than that.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
We're not getting
My
into
bad.
this. We're not getting into people's vinegar strokes here. Yeah. I can't imagine the literally load that women have to carry. Like,
that's actually a good one.
I know, like,
so many puns.
Like, you got to put on a show and all that. I ain't gonna lie. I remember a few times I was with my partner. I said, girl, you're going to have to start like moaning and screaming and shit, because I'm about to be done. So the sensory stuff and the input, just speeds up things. I'm like,
I need you to be quiet.
we need to be like the Quiet Library on MTV. Don't say a goddamn thing.
If you go past that noise barrier, we're done.
If we go past the noise barrier, girl,
You ain't gonna get any money.
I ain't gonna get my pants off. So. Did you say you ain't gonna get no money? Oh shit! We got the threshold of time is over 30. Anything under 30 seconds, that's on you.
Everybody, shout out to MTV and Silent Library. Classic.
Oh, bro.
Classic.
I guess I was just talking about it because the porn, right? All those different things. I've seen this. We've all been in relationships where people are acting, and I can't even imagine like trying to act. Like, there's no. I can't even. Dudes.
It's exhausting.
It's tough.
Yep. I know people will be like, think of other things. I'm like, what am I supposed to think about?
Apples. I don't know.
I'm over here trying to just last.
Start counting down. You're like, all right, 5, 4.
Yep. You count sheep and shit.
Oh my god. That's the best. All right. Anyways, moving up to the last scene. All right. We're talking about vibrators, right? We're talking about vibrators and just the history of what it means and the hysteria, apparently, what women had back in the day. They need to be calmed down. So we had to make a device to calm them down.
Is that actually history? Is that true history?
Probably.
Actually it is. So yes, women were experiencing what was considered hysteria, and doctors during the American Victorian stage era, they would actually have women come in, and the male doctor would create a circular motion on the clitoris and provide a quote orgasm, if you will, and it would release the hysteria. And the reason a vibrator was created because the male doctors at one point was like, my wrist is getting too damn tired.
Oh.
And so that is how the vibrator was created. So women could alleviate their hysteria in the comfort of their own home.
So now you know, when your woman's getting out of control, give her that tongue.
Happy birthday.
Girl, I found this motherfucker.
Here's a lightsaber.
It actually makes a noise.
And it's so interesting. It's so interesting because I really like that scene particularly
Great scene.
because, you know, it's definitely bringing light to the history behind vibrators, but we still even have a tricky relationship with vibrators. Not all women. There are some women that are very empowered by the use of vibrators, but if you even think to bring a vibrator into the relationship, there's a lot of people that struggle with that. They think that they're failing, that they shouldn't, but bringing a vibrator into the bedroom is going to put that chance of you having an orgasm to 10. And on top of that, if you're having penetration and you're using your vibrator, the vibrations actually go within the penis as well. So it can actually be very pleasurable for a man as well. And you both can get what you want. And one of the biggest myths that most people attach themselves to is this concept and idea of climaxing together. It is like nearly impossible to climax together. And so if it's happening, that is rule of thumb. I'm just letting you know right now. Rule of thumb, if your partner's orgasming and saying that they're having their orgasm at the same time as you, faking. 100% faking. And this is another reason why the give and take dynamic is really awesome, because you're concentrating on each other's pleasure instead of focusing on this like start to finish where you think you're going to create the same type of orgasm at the exact same time. And vibrators have been shown to produce that orgasm for us women better than without a vibrator.
So, Spence, I mean, I ain't got no person, so like, you make sure you got a stockpile of vibrators over there when you and your girl.
Jesus Christ.
Just making sure, you know.
Stockpile? What is this, wartime?
I mean, I don't know what she needs. I mean,
Battle of the Clits?
I could be your wartime consigliere.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Remember, he likes to sit in the corner.
He does.
No, the visual right now. I'm not supposed to visualize this. Jesus, she's a good woman.
She's a good woman.
I don't think sexualizing people I
Remember,
know.
Dragon Ball. All right,
Oh
Dragon
my
Ball.
God. We got to pivot. Yeah, I brought this on myself.
You did.
Yeah,
That's your fault.
God damn it.
Yeah.
But that's something though, right? This. I guess I'm pausing right now because I have yet to have one client where we've actually had a conversation about this. Masturbation, sex, intimacy, everything that we've talked about today has been on the table except this one, the vibrator thing. And so maybe that's something, I don't know how I'm going to be like, so, you know, have you thought about what's a funny word for vibrator? Can you give me with something?
Tickle
Shaky
stick?
stick.
Tickle stick?
Tickle stick.
It's the first thing that came to my head.
Shaky stick. That's what I call
I can say, I'm going to see her on Wednesday. Say, girl, you got any tickle sticks?
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, please don't.
No,
please don't
that
go with
sounds
that
actually, pause. That sounds kind of assaulty. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. You got a tickle stick.
Tickle, tickle. We just wrestling. I was just thinking, how do I be weird with this? But I don't think I've ever had a conversation with a client, and I actually think that there's something wrong with that. There's not something wrong with it, but I feel like if this hasn't come up, then that's because either they didn't want to talk about it, thus I never knew to talk about it. But this could be a key piece to some sexual intimacy that I've been missing this whole time. Would you agree with that?
Thankfully, there's a lot of women that are becoming more empowered, and they're talking about vibrators and how empowering it is to take control of our own pleasure, because at the end of the day, our pleasure is our responsibility. You know, it's wonderful to have a partner that wants to be a helping hand in getting an orgasm and reaching pleasure, but we are responsible for it. And, you know, there is still a lot of shame, though, experienced by a variety of women that, you know, they shouldn't be using a vibrator or that they shouldn't be having orgasms. Like, that's just not ever something they've ever experienced. It's never been the concentration. And it's a lot to unlearn and to ease into. And we know that masturbation in general, especially when we're using tools like a vibrator that can actually create an orgasm, like that maybe you're not getting outside of it, it's very helpful for our mental health. The research shows it. It's very supportive as long as you have a healthy relationship with masturbation. I like to always
healthy
disclaimer
relationship.
there.
Yep.
But healthy relationship, it's so healthy. And one of the biggest things that we do is, well, I do as a sex therapist, is when clients are struggling intimately, I say you have to keep your orgasms in your bedroom. You're not allowed to masturbate outside of your bedroom, right? Get comfortable with learning that this is normal, that this is okay, and that you're taking control of your pleasure. And your partner can either partake in it or they can be a bystander to it. But it's part of like going against the grain of like, oh no, like that's not okay. I shouldn't do that.
Also, I'm
I don't know
thinking
if I
just
answered your question.
everything you said was gold, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just thinking about when you're working with clients, also to get their bodies habituated to, we're going to be climaxing in this room, right? You're getting the body used to it, like, hey, this is the thing that we do in this room. This is the thing that we do in this room. So that way, when you're with your partner, your body's like, hey, this is the thing that we do in this room. Your body can physically start to respond the way it should when you start to get it habituated to it. I like some of that programming too. So it gets you away from one thing and puts you in the position that you need to be in. See, I'm doing.
It goes back to that. Yeah, it goes back to that scene with her looking at her vulva with the mirror. Again, if you've never experienced an orgasm where you have a negative relationship with orgasms, one of the best things to do is become, familiar with your anatomy and explore it. Learn what an orgasm actually feels like for yourself.
Bro, Spence, I was just thinking when she said look at it and like touch it and all that. So my doctor, right, we're getting to this age now where they're like, you've been checking your balls now? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you need to start feeling around, making sure there's no lumps in there. Have you been examining them in the shower here and there? I'm like, nah, doc. He's like, puts on his glove. He's like, I know you've been waiting all year for this. I'm like, hold up, doc. Hold up, doc. Like, I told my dad about this. He's like, I'm coming with you. This fucking pervert. I was like, Dad, you can't even walk. What you gonna do? That motherfucker gonna know.
Don't touch my son's balls.
Yeah. And, this is TMI, but for a lot of men and men's health, I'm also talking about exploring too. As we're getting older now, right, testicular cancer is a real thing. Prostate cancer is a real thing. These are things you need to start getting checked out for. Colon cancer is a real thing. These things are taking men's lives. So I know this is a vastly pivot from the sex talk, but you need to be comfortable with your body.
Your sexuality.
You need to be comfortable with your body. And so if you got to do an examination here and there, make sure everything's okay. I've got clients that recently have had testicular cancer and it fucked their mood up for about 2 years and they never knew. So we're talking about this checking and all that. This is men too. You should be checking. Mm-hmm. Wow. This was a different podcast. I love this.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Well, we definitely getting sued, but whatever. I don't know who's suing us, but
I talk too much about it. Too much clit stimulation. Can't do it.
It's the church. They won't care about any of the men's topics that we talked about. They're like, you talk to women too much.
How dare you talk about those clitorises?
Yeah.
How dare you?
It's just
an evil laugh.
Yeah, he's got an evil laugh. Yeah.
Oh, I have a few.
He's got a few of them. They're terrible.
All right, anyways.
Was it good for you? So folks, was this podcast good for you? Did you get what you needed, girl?
Did we stimulate you?
When I'm telling my students for the ADHD how to find out how to do their homework and all that, sometimes I forget on what words I could use for warm-ups or preparation. So I'll be like, it's all about the foreplay. And they're like, foreplay to do my homework? Yeah. You gotta be in the mood to do it, right? You gotta be, you gotta be Randy.
Can't just dry run that.
No.
Can't. Gotta have a play up.
You gotta
play up too.
You gotta get your lube ready.
You gotta warm up.
Don't be ashamed to use the lube. I'm done.
Yep. All right. Anyways, thank you so much, Leann, for coming on to the show. Any plugs before we get out of here?
Jesus Christ.
I can't say anything.
You can't say anything. So sexual. Plug it up, girl. What do you got?
Any butt blood? Oh, sorry.
What's going on?
Just remember that your sexuality is yours and there's no right or wrong. Claim it and make it yours, and try to push away the shame, because we all deserve pleasure and we all deserve to have a good sexuality and intimacy, for sure.
Any promotions though? You want to promote anything that you're doing? Any projects?
Oh shit! I totally missed that one. Okay. You guys just let me go with that too.
Yeah, that was good.
It was a great motto.
That was good. Yeah, but I
Put it on
need
a
you to
t-shirt.
plug, girl. You don't know nothing about no plugs, girl. I don't know what type of sex you talking
You got
about.
so distracted by the word plug and was just like, I don't know.
All I went to was dilators and anal plugs. Like, that's all my brain went to.
No. What are you doing? How can people find you? Like, yeah.
I got it now. Yeah. Now I got it. I was just reflecting.
I just had to show you it.
Show me yours, I show you yours.
Oh my God.
So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Borneman Psychotherapy. I have a variety of content there, more aimed towards ADHD and sexuality, but I do throw in a few sexual education videos as well. And my website, www.bornemancoaching.com, if you're interested in working with me.
There you go. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Definitely would have you back on for another episode. That was probably, what are we talking about? It's not gonna get any better than this. Like, we're not gonna be like, oh yes, let's have a time constraint here. No, it's not gonna happen. Anyways, thank you so much for being on. Go check out Leann's pages and also website. So with that, I'm Spencer. That's Nas, Different Spectrum Podcast.
All right, everyone. Thank you for today. We know it was a lot funny, a lot of laughs. Much appreciation. Much love. And remember, take care of yourselves.
Or doubt.
It's completely up to you. Peace.